Bingo!
I'm your huckleberry.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. I wanted to come out today and film a video where I give you guys kind of an update and share my experiences with the Cyelee Ghost or Cyelee Ghost HDG optic that I've been running on my full-size PSA dagger now for about 1,000 rounds. I have owned this red dot for about 3 months, and so far, really enjoying it. Let's go over some of the specs and features on this thing. As you guys can see, it's a very large optic, which has a really good size window. The optic itself has a 2 MOA dot with a 26 MOA circle, and you can choose between 3 different reticle patterns. You can run just the 2 MOA dot, as I'm running currently. You can see it there. See if I can get this to switch on camera, if I can remember how. Alright, there you can see we're just running the 26 MOA circle. Let me see if I can get that to focus. It makes it kind of tough to see it on camera, but you just have to take my word for it. It is very clear when you're looking through it with the eye. And then you also have the option, see if I can turn it up, maybe you can see it a little better. And there it is with the 26 MOA circle plus the 2 MOA dot. Now personally, that is how I like to run it right there with just the 2 MOA dot, and that's mainly because this is running on a pistol. I don't really like the 26 MOA circle as a reticle size for pistols. However, I think for a shotgun, if I were going to run the Cyelee Ghost on something like my Panzer M4 or a Mossy 500 or a Remington 870, I really think I would run it with just the 26 MOA dot, because I do feel like that particular circle size is really good at displaying shotgun pattern spread over certain distances. So in some cases, I think the 26 MOA dot alone would be a really good option. But with this pistol, and certainly pretty much every other pistol I do run a dot on, regardless of the brand, I typically just run a 2 MOA dot. I do like that. I think it's more than adequate. I can see it. I can pick it up pretty fast. And it is small enough to be precise at any kind of distance beyond 25 yards. So if you're shooting at something 50 yards, 100 yards, even 200 yards away, that 2 MOA dot really does help make those precise shots. Now, I know those are uncommon distances to shoot pistols at, but I do it pretty regularly, and it is certainly doable once you figure out the holdovers. But as I was saying, I've got about 1,000 rounds, closer to 1,200 rounds through this gun now with this particular optic installed. There's actually a video which I'll show you here. I don't know how to make that a clickable link, so just, take my word for it. It's on the channel. But you can check out that video and you can see the unboxing of this, and you can see my initial impressions when I got it, as well as some torture testing that I did on day one. Nothing crazy, but I did, drop it on the table plenty of times. I racked it off the table. I threw it across the yard. I'll try to cut in some of that footage here. So I'm going to go ahead and say that that's a pretty close zero. We're going to go ahead and do a couple of drops. And let's see if this thing loses zero. We just kicked the shell case up high as hell. Alright. So we're going to rack it off the table a few times. We've dropped it. And guys, I'm not going out of my way to try to break this thing, but I am dropping it as hard as I could, see it being dropped. Just kind of throwing it, dropping it on the tables. That was actually a pretty good slam. Let's see if it lost zero. If it doesn't lose zero from this, I may drop it on the ground. I don't know yet. And a light strike or something. right, didn't lose zero. It's doing pretty good hitting the smaller targets. Go ahead and throw it again. All right, there's that round that didn't go off. It was a light strike. We'll have to keep an eye on that. And let's see. Let's go ahead and rack it. Ah, fuck it, yeah, I'll throw it. All right, so I chucked it across the yard. It's still on, hasn't skipped off or anything like that. Rack it off the table. Still working. Let's see if it's still holding zero. Yeah, I'd say that's still pretty good. These shots I was missing, I was taking out at 100. I haven't even put this thing on paper, so I don't know if it'll make 100 yet. But so far, so good. Go ahead and try some more. These I'll actually try to put on target up here so you can see if it's on zero or not. All right, so not bad. Not bad. I'm actually pretty impressed with this. Just taking a look at it against the iron sights, it seems like it's still holding exactly where I put it. Okay, not bad. Tell you what, guys, I did bring one more mag. Let's go ahead and put this mag through, and then we'll see how it does. Not bad at all. She definitely held zero. All right, so as you can see, I haven't been really nice to this thing. I've been trying to see if it's going to break. So far, it has really impressed me. It has stayed tight. My one gripe with this optic, and I'll just be honest with you, is the screws that they provide. While they work fine, they come with Loctite pre-installed. And I've got one of them here somewhere. And I want to show you guys kind of what I'm talking about. So if you look, let me get the lighting. Right there, you'll see that there's a blue drop of Loctite that is pre-installed on these screws. About 400 rounds into having this optic mounted, I did notice that it had worked itself loose. No big deal. Tightened it back up, continued shooting. About 200 rounds later, it was loose again. So at that point, I pulled the screws out to make sure, for one, that I had used the correct screws, which I did. It was a 632 by 433 or something like that. It's the exact size that I needed for this dagger slide with the Ghost optic. But what I noticed when I pulled the screws out is that the blue Loctite that is on the screw had not been disturbed at all, which to me indicates that that blue Loctite that was pre-installed isn't really doing anything. And it didn't do a good job at grabbing itself into the slide and locking that screw in place. So simple solution for that is just anytime you grab one of these optics from anybody, I'm not just saying this is true of Cyelee, I'm sure this is true of most other optics manufacturers. If you see that it already has Loctite installed, don't do what I did and trust that that's going to work, but instead pick up your own little bottle of blue Loctite 242, Loctite, Vibratite, whatever you like to use, and add a little bit to the screws yourself. Give yourself that peace of mind. Now, since I've put my own Loctite on this and locked it back down, I have had zero issues in about 600 rounds with this optic. It has not come loose at all since then. So I'm going to chalk that up to operator error. I should have known better than to trust pre-installed Loctite. I just assumed, hey, it's got Loctite on it, it's good to go. Don't make that same mistake. Loctite it yourself, and I think you'll be good. But as far as the optic itself, performance-wise, it has never failed to turn on when I pick it up. It works 100% reliably in that way. I have noticed if I sit it down long enough and leave it alone, it does turn itself off, so that's good. In 3 months, like I said, about 1,200 rounds I've put through this gun now. Haven't had to change a battery, haven't had any problems with battery life. I am running just the 2 MOA dot, so I'm sure that will extend the battery life a little bit, but even with the dot and circle, I don't think you're going to have a problem with this thing running out of juice rapidly. And even if it does, the great thing about the Ghost, it is a side load battery compartment, which you can see there, and you can just swap it out, pop another battery in, you're good to go. I would recommend with any type of red dot, flashlight, whatever runs on batteries on a gun, change the batteries on your birthday every year or whatever other, date you want to pick. Birthday is irrelevant. It's just the date you can remember. Hey, today's the day. Let me change the batteries in my optics, flashlights, etc. And I don't think you'll ever have a problem as long as you're using quality stuff with your things being dead. I picked that up. That's a tip from James Yeager. I don't know if he made it up, but rest in peace, James. And it has been a solid tip. I've used it many years, and I've never had an issue. At this point, I want to go ahead and roll in some footage of me shooting this, just so you guys get an idea of it. So I'll roll that in here.
The day is approaching to give it your best, and you've got to reach your prime. That's when you need to put yourself to the test and show us a passage of time. We're gonna need a montage, a sports training montage. Show a lot of things happening at once, remind everyone of what's going on. And with every shot, show a little improvement. To show it raw would take too long. That's called a montage. Even Rocky had a montage. In any sport, if you want to go from just a beginner to a pro, you need a montage. A simple little montage. Always fade out in a montage. If you fade out, it seems like more time has passed in a montage.
All right, so as you can see from the footage on the range, I've had no problems using this optic and making good hits. I do have a little bit of footage I want to cut in here where you can actually get a POV shot and see what it looks like aiming through this optic at about 25 yards. So I'll cut that in here. All right, so hopefully that gave you some kind of idea of what it looks like to actually aim down the sights with this thing. As you can see, it is a very big window, and I do really like that about this optic. As you can also see here plainly, the glass is really clear. It does not have that blue hint. You can see that moving across these stripes, moving across the box. It's very clear glass. It does have the reflective reddish color on the front. But even that is relatively clear looking at it from the front. It's not nearly as red and reflective as I've seen in some other optics. But every optic is going to require that type of coating so that the optic itself will work. However, Cyelee does a really good job of ensuring that you don't have that blue tint when looking through the optic. As you can see here, another thing I like about this optic, as you can see, I'm going to try to move up and down, side to side. It does co-witness. So that is a great option, or a great point. And as you can see, when you get side to side in the optic, there is no distortion. That thing is crystal clear all the way to the edges of the glass, which is one of the other things I really like about this. Now, I want to say these things retail somewhere in the neighborhood of about $300. And depending on what you're looking for and what you want to spend, I do think this is a great optic and something you should really consider. When you consider that the closest thing that's really comparable to this in size, especially for the window, is the Trijicon SRO, I'm pretty sure this thing's coming in at about half the price. If I'm wrong about the prices, I'll try to annotate that stuff on the screen here so you guys can make an informed decision. But overall, I've really been impressed with this Cyelee optic. This is about the same price as what I would have paid for my Holosun 507C. I'm trying to remember the designation because there's a fucking ton of different Holosuns, and I do own a bunch of them. But this has been equally as impressive as my Holosun, and I would trust this just as much as I do the Holosun. I do not own a Trijicon, so I cannot give you a direct side-by-side comparison, but after shooting this thing for as long as I have and having zero problems, I'm not really in any, I don't feel the need to buy a Trijicon. This is not a primary weapon system for me, but I do really enjoy shooting it, and I think that this optic is great. I would like to get a second one of these to try on a shotgun, so let me know in the comments below if you guys would be interested in seeing how this thing would hold up on a semi-auto 12 gauge, because I do like the idea of using that 26 MOA reticle on a shotgun. If I get enough support in the comments for that, I'll definitely look into getting one for the shotgun and seeing how it performs. But so far on a pistol, this thing has been great. There have been no issues with it whatsoever. It doesn't skip on and off. It doesn't flicker. It just works. And if you guys like it as much as I do, if you think the form factor is there and you just like the way it looks, I definitely think it's worth the money. One thing to check out for, you can find these directly at Cyelee, or, usually you can always find them on Amazon. When you look for them on Amazon, definitely make sure to look and see if there are any clickable discount codes, because you may be able to get these for a reduced rate. It's definitely worth keeping an eye on the Amazon listings to see when they have sales available and take advantage of those sales to maximize your savings. One last thing I want to do, I want to go ahead and get another couple of optics and let you guys get kind of like a side-by-side comparison of what they look like as far as the window size. And I also want to make sure that I mention the adjustments. One of the things about this that I forgot to mention so far, but when you make your adjustments to elevation and windage, it's not mushy, it's clicky and tactile, and you can not only feel but also hear the adjustments as you're making them. And for me, that's one of the things I look for in optics when I'm trying to figure out the type of quality it is. For instance, I've got a Sig Romeo Zero, I want to say is what it is. It's the polymer RMSC footprint optic on one of my Sig 322s. When you're making adjustments on that thing, you're just fucking guessing. There's zero tactile feeling to it. You can't hear any clicks. You're just spinning it and wondering how much the dot moved. With something like the Cyelee Ghost, there is no guessing in that. You can feel the clicks. You can hear them. It has very crystal clear glass, large window, great dot reticle system if you want, circle dot, or if you just want a plain dot, or if you want a circle. They're giving you all the options. You just need to make sure that you bring your own thread locker. So one moment, guys, let me grab a couple other optics, and I'll let you guys see a side-by-side comparison, and then we'll close out the video. See you in a minute. All right, so as you guys can see here, I've got a few other options, so I want to go side-by-side with each one and let you guys see a difference in the window size. So we're going to try to be consistent here and keep the Ghost on the left. And here it is versus the Cyelee Oak. So when you're looking at your window size, let's see if I can get both dots in there at the same time. There is a noticeable difference in window size, and both of these optics have the same footprint. So the Ghost is definitely bigger than the Cyelee Oak window. All right, here is the Holosun 407K. Now, this isn't exactly a fair comparison because the 407 is a micro footprint, but it'll give you guys some idea of the difference in window sizes there. There's a pretty stark difference. I've been messaging Cyelee pretty religiously and asking them to please make something in an RMSC footprint that's similar to the Ghost. So I want like a big window RMSC footprint, especially for guns like this. This is the Thesis 1911 DS. For whatever reason, Thesis decided to put that a micro footprint, and I'd like to have a bigger window on this. It is perfectly usable, but a larger window on a micro footprint would be great. But obviously the Ghost was bigger. So here's the Holosun 507C. And let's see how the Ghost compares to it in a side-by-side comparison of the window. Let's see if we can get that reticle in play. So as you can see, a much larger window on the Ghost over the, like way bigger. I'm looking at it from my angle. Over the Holosun 507C, you're getting a much larger field of view with the Cyelee Ghost. So guys, if you're looking for a very large windowed optic, you don't want something quite as big as the Cyelee Bull, which to be fair, I've never got a chance to check out the Cyelee Bull. Maybe I can get my hands on one of those. But the Cyelee Ghost, great option. If you're looking for something in that Trijicon SRO size game, and you don't want to spend Trijicon SRO money, I would say definitely check out the Cyelee Ghost HDG and give it a shot. But as always, guys, thanks for coming to the video. Thanks for sticking with me to the end. Stay safe. Watch out for each other. Peace out. Later, guys.